here after what was a boring Sunday night game. Yay! What a great way to start the night. Honestly, let's see. This is loading, but okay, we're good. We're good. Scoop, are you good? On your
Yeah,
end?
I got it. Yeah, I got it up.
Sweet. All right, sweet. All right. I'm Robert Silsey, joined as always by Brandon Furtado and Scoop for another Sunday of action. How are you guys doing?
I'll take a W today.
Yeah.
For our sake, but at the same time, in terms of football in general, this week, week one was definitely better. So, but
Yeah.
I think as long as we're here, as long as we're together, you know what? I'm ready to talk as much football as we can handle tonight. So,
Yes. All right. Let's get started. Normally we start with Sunday Night Football. That was boring. We'll get to it later. Let's just get to it later. Normally we wouldn't even talk about it, to be fairly honest, but we have to. But let's talk about something more fun. Brandon, go off on the Eagles. Have fun.
yeah. I feel bad because we were on Discord for a lot of it, Scoop and Jay and I, they caught an earful of the absolute obscenities and atrocities that I was just leveling at this team, at this offense during the game. But you know why? Because we have high expectations that come off a Super Bowl. The offense is unchanged. Everybody's back on the offense from last year's team. And can
I pause you for a second?
Yeah.
Scoop, can you show off that Pepsi bottle? I literally had to pause Brandon's rant because, dude, that is the crazy. Why are you just drinking it like that? Use a cup.
What happened?
Use a cup. Why are you drinking it like that?
I live alone. There's no one else using it.
She's drinking straight from the leader.
Christ, man. How much did the Eagles frick you up? They had to drink liters of.
Oh, he was
Pepsi.
guzzling that.
All right, Brandon, continue. I'm sorry to cut you off, but why do you?
Yeah.
Why do you what? So not only do you have coffee, the giant mug of coffee, but you have a giant mug of Pepsi too. But by this point, Scoop is going to get a heart attack before we get to the playoffs.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, between the caffeine and the Pepsi,
okay, but here's the thing. So I'm on caffeine and Pepsi today, and I still was more relaxed watching this game than Brandon was.
Yo, that's also true.
All right, Brandon, please continue. I'm sorry for the interruption, but that was one of the greatest moments. Just seeing Scoop just nonchalantly decide, "Hey, let me just put this on camera really quick," and nobody noticed.
I thought it was off the side, to be honest with you.
I mean, it's God. Where do I go from there? I mean, honestly, watching the Eagles today, it's like, through 2 weeks, we always say you can't judge a team until you get about a month or so in. You really can't. You really don't know who these teams are quite yet. They're still figuring things out. And today, I love how the defense played. The defense played exactly how I expected them to, but it's just the offense. I mean, now last week, this is the same offense we saw post lightning delay, pre-lightning delay last week. The Eagles' offense looked fine to me. I mean, a couple of times there were a little bit of a questionable play calls, but they scored on 4 straight drives. So they had 24 points before that lightning delay. It was 4 straight drives they had scored on, whatever it was, and that was it. And then the lightning delay just screwed up both the Eagles and the Cowboys, but they still won. This week, it was hot. You didn't have to worry about rain or anything like that. But literally from the first snap, Jalen Hurts fumbles the ball while trying to run. I mean, they fell on it, but it was okay, I know what kind of game I'm in for if he's fumbling the first play of the game. And then the offense never got in sync. I mean, outside of a Saquon Barkley touchdown run, the offense didn't score at all. They didn't score a single touchdown. Except, I mean, you can count the tush push TD at the end to basically put the game on ice, more or less. But it's just that's not enough. They haven't had a passing touchdown for 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks. So it's that's just it's it's rough. It's it's because even Kellen Moore's offense, for as bad as it was the first couple of weeks, they still scored a bunch of points and they still looked halfway decent. The first 2 games this year. I mean, like I was telling you guys, I feel like I'm watching the Brian Johnson Eagles again, where it's the same, just long developing plays, lack of creativity. There is no motion. There's not enough motion on certain plays, and then you're taking the play clock. Like last year, the team would get the play in and run the play, and they weren't taking the clock down inside of 5 seconds. They were snapping the ball with 7, 8, sometimes even 12 seconds left on the play clock. Still had time. Today, every single play call, whether it was a dead ball or whether it was just a short gain, it's like you got to be thinking a couple steps ahead. You can't be thinking about, like, I wonder what play I'm going to run as the clock is ticking. It's like, it just felt like the operation from top to bottom was just so incredibly sloppy today that it was just hard to. I mean, we're honestly lucky we won because you look at the false starts that we had that could have been called against us, that could have ruined the game. Both teams didn't play well, and I think the better team overall still won. But it's really scary to look at this team through 2 weeks and see that they're barely winning football games. That the good teams, good teams find ways to win, and that's what we always say. And in the first month, it's all about, hey, just stack W's until you figure out who you are, and then you take off. But watching these 2 games, I'm like, last year beating Green Bay in Brazil, playing really well offensively in that game, and then week 2, you had that bad loss to the Falcons. That's a game, that you lost. This game felt like you probably should have lost. It's like, I'm glad that we get the wins when they, right now, stack them as much as you can. But the operation of the offense, the defense is fine. The operation of the offense has to change. The defense is getting turnovers. I think they've had they had a turnover on downs early in this game, so that counted as a turnover. And then they had the interception from Makuba, who had a good game today. So the rookies still played well on the defense. The defensive rookies were really good today. But overall, I mean, if that pick doesn't happen, we lose the game. And I think that honestly, it's the offensive side of the ball. The operation has to be cleaner. This does not look like the same offense from last year. I mean, it's not going to because it's not Kellen Moore. But Kevin Patullo said in the offseason, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We're going to run roughly the same offense. Through 2 weeks, this is nothing like the same offense last year. It's not even close. So it's a little bit scary, but you know what? We start off 2-0. I'll take it. That's fine by me.
Yeah, Scoop, you can go off that. What did you feel about the offense today?
Yeah, so you know how we talk a lot, whether it's as Eagles fans or just about the Eagles, and we talk back to the 2013 to 2015, the Chip Kelly team, where the offense was very up-tempo and very aggressive, very a lot of movement, but it kind of wore down the defense. I feel like what we are watching right now is the antithetical Chip Kelly offense, where there's no creativity whatsoever. There's no motion. The defense has plenty of time on the field. They're eating time of possession, like Pac-Man goes after those little things, whatever they're called. Which again, I'm a big fan of defense, time of possession. Chewing it, running it up the gut, all of that. I'm big on that. I'm big time on that, especially when I got Mr. 26 up the backfield, who I told Brandon during the game is quickly rivaling, I think, a former 25 for perhaps the position of greatest Eagles running back in history. Now, that being said, I watched way too many times, and I heard Brandon say this when I could actually understand what he was yelling about.
Screaming.
Where he was basically just whether it was I'm trying to remember. It was I don't remember if it was a shovel pass or a bubble screen. He was yelling about. I can't remember the exact name of the play.
Oh, I yelled a lot. Scoop, you heard me. I yelled about every single bubble screen and shovel pass today, whatever it was.
Yeah. Okay. So I did have that correct. All right. But basically, they would drop him out, and then they would just make these like tiny little passes that almost lateral out to the left or usually the right.
Swing passes.
Swing pass. Thank you. I knew there was a word I was forgetting. Swing pass. Thank you. And then he would, or there were a couple of times where Jalen Hurts would randomly just try and throw these deep, these 95 goes up the, up the left side. And, they would basically, he tried to put up a couple, and now to his credit, most of the time I saw that happen, the intended receiver came down with the ball. So at least there's that when he throws the hospital balls, usually it ends up okay. But there was the element of just feeling too predictable. I'm not the most X's and O's tactician savvy when it comes to football, and even I, a good amount of the time, felt like I knew what was coming. I also did feel like kind of running it down, and then I also just found it very odd that I felt like some of the draws that were run with Saquon, I just kind of felt like we're not putting the offense in position to like we saw it. There were a couple of times where they were on like genuine long, like we're talking like 15 yards to go, and they're throwing these inside runs up the middle, and Brandon and I are looking at each other like, huh?
Yeah.
Like even without Goddard, you got 2 or 3 solid threats up there. Even if they're doubling one of them, which that did happen with AJ Brown after seemingly being AWOL last week. AJ Brown actually was targeted for a team leading 8 times today. He only came down with 5. So they definitely. The offense was definitely looking to get A.J. Brown more in the game. Unfortunately, on the flip side of that, the defense was also more prepared to keep A.J. Brown out of the game. Again, big ups for the defense. I liked a decent amount of what I saw from Jalen Hurts, both that will and will not show up on the stats sheet. I think some of it was just better. Some of it I do have to just tip my cap to their defense being ready for what we were throwing at them. But again, like we saw, and much of the reason why I was excited when Kellen Moore came over last year, that creativity on offense, that motion, that playing to the strengths of his players. It feels like, I don't want to say a regression, but it feels like something's being left to be desired here. And I definitely think that there was an element of missing Goddard today. But also our number 2 in Calcaterra, I don't think he's any slouch as a tight end in his own right. And I don't know. Much like the chicken wings that I got today, I feel like there was some meat left on the bone.
Yeah. And then for the Chiefs, you could say kind of the same thing. 0-2 to start the year. Scoop, this doesn't feel like the same team at all as past years. We've talked about this for years, that they've kind of fallen off. This is, I know it's week 2, but it's
we're talking about the Chiefs now.
The Chiefs now dip much, much lower than in years past. It doesn't feel like the same team, Scoop.
I would agree with that. Now, that being said, when it comes to teams like the Chiefs, formerly the Patriots with Belichick and Brady, when it comes to teams like that have just proven more often than not to get it done, at least in their own conference, if not the Super Bowl, I'm always reluctant to be too, they're done, because how many years in a row did people think teams like the Patriots were over, and then they had a whole second, win to their dynasty for, several years. So until I see them really fall apart, now there were some rumors last week that perhaps they could try and bring back Tyreek Hill out of Miami. To the understanding that we got later was that it looks like they're focused on Xavier Worthy and then getting back Rashee Rice when that happens. Now I will say this: Travis Kelce. I will say he does look like he's getting long in the tooth. I don't know. Maybe his hand is being weighed down by that ring to Taylor Swift. I don't know. But something. And again, and I'm not saying this as a hater. I like Kelce, a good amount as a player and as a person. So I'm not on here just to bang on the Chiefs. But he just I am seeing something out of him. Or rather, I'm not seeing something out of him that I'm used to seeing. I don't know if that's age. I don't know if it's just again, he's been basically I know we usually use this phrase for halfbacks, but he's been kind of the bell cow of their offense. He's kind of shouldered a lot of the load for Mahomes, particularly since Cheetah went to Miami. But I agree, and also this got underrated, I think, for a while with guys like not with Spags, and then guys like on the defense like Reed and Jones. Their offense got so much attention, and Andy Reid got so much attention that I think it often got overlooked that they had a really solid defense for a while as well, and a decent amount of depth on the defense, particularly on the defensive line for a while as well. So I think now, as some of that is not as fundamentally there and reliable as it was for a period of time, I think sometimes that's kind of rearing it a little bit as well. So I think there's a lot of factors here. I'm not exactly going DEFCON 1 on this one just yet, but I do think it's something that bears watching, particularly if teams like the Broncos can get their together.
Yeah, I mean, for Kelce, I've been pretty staunch in saying that it's his final year. I think I'm pretty confident in saying that at this point. As for the rest of the team, Brandon, this is as rough as it can get. I mean, again, only 2 weeks. We understand that, but this is as rough as it can get for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it today. I mean, there was even times where both teams were getting kind of a little bit like they were getting a little bit antsy, getting a little bit kind of just fed up with how the game was going. But the Chiefs actually, I mean, there was players on the side losing their cool all game. Travis Kelce flipped out. Chris Jones flipped out on the sideline today. Even Mahomes at one point had a slight crash out when he was sitting on the bench. He was pissed at himself. Like I mean, ever since like late, ever since really the Super Bowl last year. I mean, they looked out of sync in the Super Bowl, and they looked out of sync last week, and they looked out of sync this week. And those are against. I mean, who those games were against us, but it's just it's very weird watching them play. And granted, they're hurt. They're missing two of their receivers, two fast receivers at that can create separation and get open and create space. But and which opens up things for Travis Kelce. But at the same time, I mean, the only times that Travis Kelce was really getting open today was on pick plays, was on crossing routes, basically pick plays that they ran where he was open underneath because guys were running into each other. Other than that, he was never really open.
And a couple of the times, not to interrupt you, I'm going to throw this in there. A couple of the times that happened, it was when it was more just like blown coverages on our part. We saw, we saw. I mean, you and I both know how much a dorky jackwagon is not getting a lot of fans in Philadelphia. And then even the two, seemingly, growing budding stars, young defensive backs that we have. But I would say both. I think you and I would both say both DeJean and Mitchell did not look like what we expect of them today. And I know you and I also spoke a little bit about Jihan Campbell as well.
Yeah, it's when I just watched that game today, both teams just look so sloppy. It's like and I think it's like Travis Kelce, like I was saying. I mean, it wasn't the fact we made a great defensive play on that Makuba interception. He just dropped the ball. I mean, he was not
literally.
It was awful. Yeah.
And the thing is, like, they were kind of making excuses on the broadcast. Like Brady's like, oh, he just never turned his head. I'm like, but he knows the ball is going to him. That play is designed to get the ball to him in that situation. Yeah. So why is his head not turned around in time to go catch that?
No, that's like, not when the fundamental framework, personnel wise and X's and O wise of this system has been in place for damn near 15 years. Those are mistakes that multi-year players, and I mean non-rookies, should not be making. And we saw that happen on, like, if you couldn't watch this game tonight, and I'm just going to be honest here on both sides, neither team you could have watched tonight and told me that they were in the Super Bowl back in February. Yeah. These looked like teams that either had first-year coaches, first-year quarterbacks, or both. These looked like young teams that were just skinning their teeth at the breaking in as a core to the NFL for the first time. Neither of these teams looked like teams that had won multiple conference championships in the last several years.
You know what it is too. It's like when I was watching this game, like even the times where it seemed like our offense wasn't prepared for the blitz. Jalen Hurts didn't get hit like that in this game. There was a couple of times early on he got hit, but a lot of times they brought the blitz. He was beating it. Well,
I was impressive that he didn't get hit more because of the fact that I thought he had so much stick on the amount of time he was holding that ball. I thought they had stick him on his gloves that he physically couldn't separate himself from it. I don't know why he was holding the ball for that long. Like, I mean, he always holds the ball too long for my liking, which usually he can get away with because of how good the offensive line is. But I just shudder to think of if he ever, God forbid, doesn't have such a good offensive line, 3.5 seconds is too long to hold the freaking ball. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and it's like, and that's what scares me about Kevin Patullo's offense in general, is because the picture I sent you guys in the chat. I was like, show me where Jalen Hurts has an open receiver here. Show me, because there's not a single one open.
That was the case, the last few years, though, because these receivers are having a tough time getting separation.
I remember seeing there was a viral picture that was kind of like, I don't even remember what game it was from. I think it was from the Kansas City Super Bowl loss 2 years ago. But I remember a picture going viral like that, like a year or two ago, that we were talking about. I think it was actually when Brian Johnson was still coaching here, coaching here.
The thing is, I trust Jalen. Like to me, at this point, if he's holding onto the ball listen, he held onto the ball too long early in his career, but the thing is, guys were open. Now he's holding onto it too long, but nobody's open. Like at this point, if no one's open in the first 2 or 3 seconds, and it's not a blitz, where you're not trapped, just take off and run, go, because you're better off.
Either that or check it down, or if worst case scenario, at least just dump it.
I don't blame him for wanting more. I mean, there was a time in the game. What was it? There was a fourth down. It was like 4th and half a yard, and he was actually pissed at Sirianni that they weren't going for it. Like he wants to. The thing is, I love the fact that he's a gamer. I love the fact he wants to stay out there.
Me too.
But it's like you can't.
And we're statistically one of the top teams consistently on 4th down year to year.
Yeah, and that's with or without the tush push. Like there's even I see us pick up 4th and 2, 4th and 5, like last year we picked up a lot of 4th and 5, 4th and 6, 4th and 7s by getting Devontae Smith the ball and AJ Brown, or getting it over the middle to Dallas Goedert. Like we got 4th downs in different ways other than the tush push today, but it was like what I was watching today too, and it's why I'm surprised that the Chiefs actually didn't hold us down and actually get the win. Is like every 3rd and a yard and a half, every 4th and a yard and a half. It was like you made it so there was no element of surprise. Like last year, that Eagles team would have ran like a 5-yard slant on a 3rd and 2 or a 4th and 2 and got a first down because they were confident. It was like this team wasn't confident in running anything other than the tush push today. That's really the only reason.
No. I didn't see more than maybe 3 or 4 times today. I didn't see Jalen take one intermediate risk down the field.
Yeah, no, everything was a dump off. I think his deepest pass was probably the 2 shots that he threw to Devontae Smith, and one of them was not caught. He got hurt. And the other one was caught, but he got hit as he threw it, so the ball kind of hung up there, and he's lucky that Devontae made the adjustment to catch the ball.
That was the play I was referencing earlier.
Yeah,
but like I mean he could have. Excuse me, but like you weren't seeing any. I mean I know you were at wit's end about a couple of the curls that were attempted earlier in the game, but like I didn't see. But like we saw no in routes. We saw no we didn't even see anything like really up the sideline all that much.
No.
For like an out or anything of that nature.
And like that's one thing I noticed like last year too, is like with Kellen Moore's offense and why it's different. There was a lot of comeback routes last year. There was a lot of over the middle routes.
I knew I was forgetting one of them. Yeah.
Like it was like the second that these guys that the play was snapped, I was like, okay, there's 2 wide receivers on one side of the formation, one on the other. These 2 guys are one guy is basically running like a crosser, one guy is running a go, and the guy on the other side is basically running a curl route. I'm like, what kind of play call is that?
I mean, I saw twice today. I saw Kelsey for them. I saw him be able to. I don't remember if they actually converted on the plays, but I saw them be able to move down the field at least a little bit on basically doubling the route, and basically he would plant, and he almost would basically I don't think he essentially changed the route itself, but he basically did a second move because again he completely just made the defender fall for it, and there was nothing of that on our side of it, which I was really disappointed by because now again obviously to say that we're disappointed by this much and still have won and against the Chiefs and on the road. Like we said, if this is if this is what an ugly game looks like for us, then we're in decent shape. But it just, I was really disappointed by the fact that I saw so much life to this offense last year and so much dynamic to this offense last year, and it felt like this year's version of Madden, where the coach doesn't let you run anything but the same 3 plays for the first however many games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's like even on the, and then just the last thing is like even for the Chiefs side of things, like what I noticed a lot for the Chiefs is they just like us. I mean, we did it a little bit better than they did, but they couldn't run the ball to save their lives today. Like we were bottling it up for most of that game, except for a couple runs here or there.
I mean, it does help that we have one of the best running quarterbacks ever and Saquon.
Yeah, but it's like watching. Mahomes is the one that did the damage on the ground, but in terms of just the actual running game, like with the running backs, if Pacheco was getting stuffed, they were basically getting into second and long. And then what I did like what Vic Fangio did was he would disguise the pressure never came from the same guys. It would always come from one side of the field, the other side of the field, right up the middle, off the edges. It was always something different every time. And Mahomes, there was a couple times where Mahomes had to throw the ball a little bit quicker than he wanted to, and then there being an incomplete pass. So it's like they're watching the Chiefs today from their side of things. They look like they didn't adjust, like compared to what our defense did to them in the Super Bowl last year. It looked like once again Vic Fangio had their number. And and it just seems like when I watch Kansas City today, like Kelsey looks as slow as he ever has. Like we're saying, he's getting a little long in the tooth, but he's looking as slow as ever. Mahomes is kind of going through his reads a little slower. It feels like there's not. I mean, and I don't blame him. There's not. You're not gonna have much confidence when your leading receiver is your number 3 option on a regular day. So
right.
It's going to be a little bit of a sloppy game offensively, and that's to be expected. And
right.
Then but it's like, even so, like Andy Reid is an offensive mastermind. I didn't see anything out of Andy Reid today where I was like, wow, that's the Andy Reid I know, where he would get creative and run some motion and things like that. Like there was none of that in this offense. Like both teams today, just in general, feels like they mirrored each other.
Well, that's literally, I was letting you finish your point, and then literally that was what I was about to say. Is it almost looked like these two teams were being coached by the same people. Like it felt like when you go into I'll use Madden again. It's the most I've ever mentioned Madden in a show. But it's like when you go on and it lets you hit like the middle button, so you don't really have you're not really focusing on either team. Like that's what it felt like, because I was looking at, like, I agree. It looked like Coach Fangio absolutely was kind of outdoing Coach Reid, and typically Coach Reid doesn't get out coached by almost anybody. But I just and I will say, you mentioned defense. You mentioned obviously Coach Fangio as warranted, but I got to put one up for one of the members of our defense, and you probably know who I'm going to say. But a tackle for a loss, Sheridan on a sack, a pick, a pass defended, 6 tackles, 5 of them on his own. I got to put one up for Mr. Andrew Makuba.
I love him.
That. I absolutely love what he's brought to this defense so far. I love it. I love this in sports in general, but obviously particularly when it's on one of my favorite teams. I love it when, like, you can go in most of the time, if you just want a championship, you go in with like 3 or 4 big names on offense or defense, or both if you're lucky. I love when you're starting to see big numbers and big games more often from guys who aren't that. When you're starting to, when guys are starting to break through as like, oh, okay, we don't just have to rely on, these same 3 or 4 players every single week. Like when those guys either are hurt or are banged up or have an off game, there's other players we can rely on. And I was one of the later guys on the Makuba train so far, but I'm on this thing, hard strong, because I'm loving what this guy's bringing on the field. I'm loving what this guy's bringing with my eyes, with the stats, all of it. And I think that he's going to be big time for this defense, going forward. And I'm excited to see him break through.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on this? What was a very not bizarrely high scoring game?
No,
I'm honestly not entirely surprised that it wasn't that high scoring.
Yeah, I agree.
Just because, like, when teams like, there's two types of, well, not two types, but like, two types of games where we all typically see that are usually closer than we expect are either, teams like this that I would probably consider this a rivalry at this point since they're 1-1 in Super Bowls against each other the last 3 years, or division games, right? So I thought that even though I thought there was a bit of a talent gap between these teams, in terms of the whole roster, I thought this game was going to be pretty close, and I thought that Philly had too good of a defense to let Kansas City run wild on them, but I also thought that, Kansas City. I mean, they're still Kansas City, just because they may have lost a step. Kansas City at 80% is still better than pretty much almost every other team at 100%. So I wasn't entirely surprised by that, but again, like I said, we didn't look like we were firing on all cylinders for most of the game today, and still won at Arrowhead against the Chiefs. So we talked last week about how there's really bad wins and really good losses. I don't think this was a bad win per se, but I think that if this is going to be one of our uglier wins of the season, I'm comfortable with that as long as there's progression on top of this. I'm not comfortable with it if there's not improvements and adjustments and development from here. I can't keep watching for the next 15 plus weeks, God willing, beyond 15 weeks. I can't keep watching this, vanilla ice cream, play calling.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Jacksonville. Obviously, sad for Joe Burrow. That's probably the year. It's an awful situation.
Yeah.
Well, I'll contribute this. The most recent report that I saw, and someone can please correct me if there was anything more recent. The most recent report that I saw is that they sent off the turf toe films to a Dr. Robert Anderson, who is an expert in the area. If he requires surgery, which they should know in the next day or two, that'll probably be a 3-month thing, which again does likely indicate to me that would probably be at least most of the season, because I just can't see them hanging around the playoff race for that long. And I can even imagine if he came back in the middle of December and was healthy, I can even imagine them just saying, let's just shut him down the rest of the year so we don't risk him getting hurt again, especially behind this offensive line that is basically a bunch of revolving doors. So, yeah, if it's an injury situation, or if it's a surgery situation, that's probably about a 3-month situation, and then go from there based on where they're at, I think. But just to provide a little more detail in case anybody didn't have that.
Yes, thank you so much, Scoop. But so we'll see what happens there. We'll obviously wait till tomorrow to get that news. But Jacksonville is a complete different situation. So I don't know if you guys saw, I posted the clip in the chat, but there was one pass that was really bad by Lawrence. He made a good amount of rough passes today, but Liam Cohen in one of the passes was like, hey, hit his chest, right? And even though it was one play, I wanted to provide what Liam Cohen said in the post-game presser about that situation. So here's Liam Cohen.
It was just one throw. I was pissed. It is what it is. It's not, that's emotion. It's not personal ever. That's just kind of me getting worked up. It was just one throw.
So he basically just said, hey, it was one throw. I got pissed off. It's fine. I don't really agree with that, Brandon. I don't think it's just one throw and he's like, oh, I'm upset. That's build up, not having trust in your quarterback at all.
Yeah, and that's. I mean, to me, it has to be because this is his first year as a head coach, but we've seen Trevor Lawrence's play and his health decline since he's come into the league. So it's like, other guys, even if this is your first year, you're still taking notice of the guys that you're coaching, like as they go through their careers and who you got on your roster, what they're capable of. This is 2 weeks where Trevor Lawrence just has not looked good. And so it's. And why you're asking him to throw the ball. Trevor Lawrence, of all people, should not be throwing the ball 42 times a game.
Yeah.
But, he's got more. I mean, listen, Jake Browning was god awful, no better. But I'm looking at that where your coach saying that is just it just feels like that could be the start of just a slippery slope where he's not blaming his quarterback directly, but it's an indirect shot at the quarterback.
I would almost find that worse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where it's like he's not saying, "Oh, he didn't do his job today." He's saying, "No, I got angry over one throw," which means that you're kind of basically blaming your quarterback for making a bad play, but then you're also indicting yourself for letting your emotions get the best of you. So it's doubly as bad. So it's really, really tough because like every time we've seen a young coach come out and have a statement like that early on in the season that doesn't go well. So
Not good.
to come out in week 2 and say that already, it's just it's showing me already the way like Jacksonville. I feel like it's gonna be one of the first teams that we look at as we get towards like that that we call it that trial period. The first month of the season where it's like the trial period for teams. I feel like we're gonna get to the end of that trial period after next week or the week after. Be like, yeah, we know what the Jaguars are. They suck. Like,
Yeah.
That's the way it feels like it's going. Like, it's just, I mean, like looking at it, like statistically, they're not a terrible team, but Trevor Lawrence is very inaccurate, and you have 2 stars. You have 2 weapons now at wide receiver in Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, and you're just not getting them the ball effectively. Like, there's no Brian Thomas Jr. I drafted. Well, first, here's another problem. I drafted him in fantasy. Do you know what he's doing for me in fantasy? Nothing at all.
Can I add on to that?
Please go ahead. Yeah.
Brian Thomas Jr. today led the Jaguars in targets with 12 and was only behind Ja'Marr Chase between both teams. Of those 12 targets, how many receptions did he bring in?
4.
Like
4.
3 or 4,
Yep.
yeah.
4.
And on top of that, let's not make any mistake about it. And of course, we all hope that Joe Burrow comes back healthy, whether that's now or down the road, whatever they deem best. Joe Burrow attempted 13 passes today. 32 were attempted by Jake Browning. So essentially, Trevor Lawrence lost this game. He didn't lose to Joe Burrow. He lost this game to Jake Browning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you say that, Jake Browning wasn't as bad as Trevor Lawrence, he shouldn't even damn well be on the same conversation as for who they are. Trevor Lawrence was a former number 1 overall pick. He was the pre Caleb Williams, before Caleb Williams that I was told was going to change the way quarterback was played, and I was watching these guys wax poetic, all the football media salivating over this guy. And I'm watching today in his, I think, 6th or 7th season. I'm watching this guy get outplayed by Jake Browning, who has Ja'Marr Chase, but
he threw 3 picks. He threw 3 interceptions.
But Trevor Lawrence, passer rating of 80.6. Completion percentage, if I can do this in my head really quick, I think it was about 61%.
Mm-hmm.
And and again, no disrespect to them, but this is a Bengals defense that is not that good. This is a this is a Bengals defense that was a cheap owner away from potentially, losing one of the 1 or 2 guys on their defense that actually is worth a significant value. And so I'm looking at this game today, and I just made a mention about bad wins versus good losses. I can't think of a more, or rather a less uplifting win way this win could have gone for the Bengals than this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens with the Bengals next season. They're probably going to get worse defensively. When it comes to the Jags, I don't know how much longer we'll see Lawrence starting. It's a rough situation.
I will add this in real quickly. This might be when we finally get the answer. Can Zach Taylor coach in the NFL? This might be where he earns another contract or not. because people have said for a while. At first, it was, "Oh, he can't coach; he's terrible." Then it was, "Oh, he's a much better coach than we gave him credit for." And again, mostly coaches, for fair or not, mostly these guys are tied to their quarterbacks, and then of course it goes from there. Without Joe Burrow potentially, and with Jake Browning in there, that could be what tells us all, not necessarily all we need to know, but a lot of what we need to know about Zach Taylor going forward.
And you know what it is. You know what it is too. It's like they're 2-0, but if anybody's lucky to start 2-0 in this season, it's them so far. They have played about listen, I just talked about how Philly played ugly this week, but it was better last week. But the Bengals have played 2 ugly games of football, and somehow, some way, because their competition is terrible, they've managed to win both of them. And
they damn near lost this one at home.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like, and then you were on the road last week, but you didn't have to do much traveling because you played Cleveland. So it wasn't like you were traveling very far. So it's like,
and plus it's Cleveland.
And essentially you had 2 home games, more or less, and you pretty much in both of them, for 3.5 quarters of that game, looked like one of the worst teams in football, and yet you've had a couple good drives and won the game, and quite literally both. Last week when Burrow was healthy, Burrow had an awful game. Yeah, they couldn't move the ball to save their life. I think, what was it? Didn't they have 9 yards of total offense in the first or second half? And they still game 17-16. I talked about we're talking about how bad Philly was today, but it is hard to be that bad and still win the game. So with the Bengals, you're 2-0. You might be happy on the surface, but Jesus, those 2 games, you could not have played worse if you tried. You got out of there with your life. And the thing is, now you're 2-0, yeah. But if your quarterback's done for 3 months, you are going to be 2-10 in about 2 months. 2 or 3 months. So I don't think 2-0 is fun. It's fine, but not this 2-0. There's a lot of problems here between just. I just see first of all the cheap ownership, which is what we've been talking about the last couple of years with Cincy, but cheap ownership, and now the guys that you did pay have super expensive contracts, so now you can't afford to actually put an offensive line around your superstar quarterback to give him time to throw to the guys that you just paid a ton for, and your defense is still it's insane. Your defense didn't play well last week. It's just the Browns are just terrible. And then this week, you have 27 to the Jaguars. If you're gonna have 27 to the Jaguars, that shows how bad your defense really is.
And a Jaguars team where there was clearly dysfunction between the QB and a coach who's been coaching at the head coach level for 5 minutes, who wasn't even for a period of time looking like he was supposed to have the job.
Yeah, so looking at Cincy, it's like, okay, cool, you won, but there's both these teams in general, that scoreline indicates a good game, but anybody that watched that game knows that game is terrible.
It's like that meme that goes around different areas of social media that says, "I've won, but at what cost?"
Yeah, pretty much. Let's go. I guess I lost, but at what cost? I don't know if that works. This is not even just about the game, Scoop. The Dolphins had a players-only meeting after week 1.
Yep.
I'm sorry, their season's over. It's over. It's done.
I want to get on. Hello, I want to figure out how to speak English. I want to get in on that for a second because we have been hearing, and I like him. I respect him. I think he's one. I think he's closer to the top half than the bottom half of coaches in or head coaches in the NFL. And I'm a fan of Coach McDaniel. I think he's a little bit of a goofball. I'm a little bit of a goofball. I mess with it. That being said, I'm watching this the past week, and plenty of people have pointed out, wow, it's only 1 week in and they're already having this. So there was that. We talked last week about the Tua situation. It's no secret about the Tyreek Hill thing. He basically was like, I got to get out of here. I got to do what's right for me and my family. Then his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, goes out and does all that damage control, which I can't imagine something that I that there's no way he's getting paid enough for than to go out and do damage control for Tyreek Hill. Excuse me, I whatever he gets paid to do that, he ain't getting enough. But just looking at this thing holistically, there is just too many elements of this thing where there's too much noise, and not enough of it is coming from what's happening on the field. This is not a again, you want to talk about losing. Again, another team that lost at home today. You look at and I know the Patriots aren't as bad as maybe they were a couple of years ago, but they're not good enough to hang mid-30s on the road to a division rival.
Mm-hmm.
And and shout out to Tua. Tua, I thought he did throw the one pick and take the 5 sacks, but he was dead on balls accurate, 26 of 32, 10 yards per attempt or just about, threw over 300 yards, passer rating of over 115. So I liked all of that. Excuse me, Devon, excuse me, Aken had Aiken had a decent-ish rushing game. Actually, the more impressive rushing numbers actually really came from Malik Washington. He only took 3 carries, but one of them was for 18 yards, which was longer than anything Aiken did. And then you go to the passing game, no receiver, except for Aiken, no receiver either dropped or missed or whatever more than one of their targets. So that was all a well-oiled machine. So it's just so bizarre. It kind of reminds me, if we want to cross sports for a second, kind of reminds me of a little of the San Diego Padres, where we hear so much stuff going on off the field and there's so much noise and whatever, but somehow they're still able to more often than not get it done on the field until the big games happen. And so what I want to do is, or what I want to see is, how does this start to go when you have to play the Buffaloes, when you have to, not the Buffaloes, but you know what I mean, the Buffalo Bills.
That's on Thursday. That's on Thursday.
Yep. Well, so when you have to, and on a national game, no less. I would normally include Cincinnati, but we know the elephant in the room on that one. But the Baltimores, the Kansas Cities, potentially the Denvers. When you have to go and play these types of teams with all this other stuff going on, because I mean, Brandon, you and I remember a few years ago, going back to 2020 with our Eagles, we thought everything was hunky dory. Then there was a couple of cracks in everything, and within a matter of months, everything was going to hell. So there's a difference, I think, between people just making stuff up to get clicks and when there's smoke, there's fire. To me, I may have a deviated septum, but I'm smelling a little too much smoke here.
No, I think this is. I said it on Twitter. I think this is over. I really do, Brandon. I know it's week 2, but this is over. This looks awful.
I mean, when you look at what the Dolphins had on paper, when especially a couple years ago, not a couple years, even last year, the year before, and they were throwing the ball around the yard like crazy. Tyreek Hill was still insane. Waddle was still insane. HN was really good with Mostert. Both of them together. We were talking about them as a good duo together.
I forgot he existed.
Yeah, I mean, now he's not there, but their defense was still Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio's defense. So they were still defensively really, really good, especially when they got healthy. They became a top 10 defense once they were healthy on the field, the players. They had the makings of a team that should have been making at least winning a playoff game, if nothing else. And the problem is when you look at what it's become. I mean, even at that point, you can start seeing the cracks. Guys were, Tua's injuries didn't help things, and then Tyreek Hill wants out, and now Waddle's getting hurt now more and more. No more Mostert, he's gone. So now you miss your two-headed rushing attack. Your defense loses some key pieces and some key veterans, and then even they get injured. But then of course you lose Vic Fangio and he goes to Philly. You were losing things. It's like the second it feels like they lost any of those guys, the wheels just started falling off, and it got bad. It's we talk about how bad they are in cold weather, but this is we're only in September, and through 2 games, I mean, I don't. When I watch them, I'm like, I don't see anything here to get excited about. I don't see anything here that's anything to write home about. I mean, like today, it's like you look at a stats standpoint. I mean, they did play pretty well. The receiving core, especially, which is it's crazy because Tyreek Hill, 6 catches, a $109. A-Chain out of the backfield was really their best player on the field. 8 catches for 92 yards, a touchdown. And then also was that's the problem is that they had a good receiving day, but there was no running game. So there's only so much you can throw the ball, but if you can't run it, it's like you have to have a balanced attack in this league. You can't be too heavy on one side or the other. And today, I mean, this was a heavy, pass game for some reason. I mean, I know the Patriots defenses can be kind of up and down here and there, but they're historically known for having a decent defense. And but it's funny because when you flip over to the Patriots side of things, it's like I look at their stat line and I'm like, I can see how the Dolphins scored 27 points. But I look at the Patriots. How the hell did that team score 33 points? Because Drake May had 3 total touchdowns. I get that, but 230 yards passing. But their leading receiver and leading rusher was Ramondre Stevenson. So I'm like, when your leading receiver is also your leading running back, and he got 54 yards on the ground and 88 yards receiving, and didn't even have a receiving touchdown. I'm like, so where the hell did they score 33? But when you think about it, it was just everybody kind of got involved. I mean, Drake May also had a lot of runs himself, but looking at that game, I mean, if you're the Dolphins, I think the score is definitely closer than at halftime. It's only a 1-point game. The Patriots only up 15-14, but they let New England get off to a 12-0 start in this game, and that really kind of set the tone for Miami. Also having to play catch up late in this game and having to throw the ball more, and it's really. I mean, I look at Miami and it's like I feel like the league has figured them out in terms of the offensive creativity. It's just not the same because they've lost so many guys, and so many guys are kind of, and honestly, as much as Tyreek Hill had a good game today, I think just mentally he's checked out. I think that's it, and it's a mentally checked out Tyreek Hill still putting up a $109 is insane, but. I mean, at the same time, you can't win games when a lot of your locker room is kind of just, we're hearing these reports with Miami. It's like every little crack, like you're saying, Scoop, every little crack is starting to really show itself. And it's like now you're sitting at 0-2. You've already got all these cracks in your foundation. It's not going to get better and especially once you have a players only meeting after week 1. That's unheard of. To have a players-only meeting. I don't think we've ever had a team after 1 week have a players-only meeting. I can't remember one. But it's just if you're already at that point after 1 week of football, I'm with Rob. I think they're done. I know we can't judge, like we're saying, we can't judge after a month, but there's certain teams you look at, and when we're in this much disarray to start a season, and when you're chasing, Buffalo was better than you, and right now, the Patriots look better than they do, not by much, but they do. And the Jets got killed today. But that's because they played Buffalo. So the Jets, I still think look better than the Dolphins so far. Like they probably will end up finishing last in this division, and if not last, they'll end up in third because the somehow one of those two teams, the Patriots and Jets, but they'll just fall backwards into being a crap team. But it's. I just don't look at Miami with all that. It's crazy because on paper they should be better than what they are. But when you've got all this internal fighting, it doesn't matter if you have the 85 Bears, the 2000 Ravens, last year's Eagles. It doesn't matter who you've got. If there's too much inner turmoil, you won't win anything. And right now at 0-2, I I hate to tell our boy Sarish this, but your season's cooked, my guy. Like
Yeah.
I can't look at that team and think that they're going to go anywhere because how do you fix it from here when it feels like it's broken beyond repair?
Yeah. Scoop, do you have anything else to add on that?
Oh boy, where do I begin? I just I'm looking at the whole picture of it all, and again, let's harken back to the beginning of the McDaniel era in Miami, as it were. What was this team offensively and defensively? What was like the thing we kept hearing about this team fundamentally? Blinding speed, top level athleticism. Speed and lettuce don't age well. They don't. So, and especially when you're, especially when you're running into each other 86 times a game and during practice, I mean, we all watch baseball, right? We see what happens to velocity doesn't, increase on the north side of 30 unless it's coming off of Aaron Judge's bat. But but the whole premise of just this, you can, build a foundation off of speed and athleticism. I think that was I almost feel like it was a little bit, sorry to bring up, Voldemort's name again, but it was almost like a little bit of a Chip Kelly-esque kind of attempt in terms of just being so much based on physically overwhelming players or opponents, but physically overwhelming, not in the sense of like we're bigger than stronger than you, but that, catch me if you can, MFer. And it was just, I am not sure that was ever meant to, or not meant to last, but never built to last or built to be maintained. And then, of course, who's your biggest athlete? Cheetah. Unfortunately, just as hard as he has to pin down on the field, he's also hard to pin down mentally. And then you've got, Tua. We talked about him last week. I ain't going to go through that whole conversation again. So it just, I feel like they had every team has a limited window, right? But I feel like this team had a limited window even more so because of how they constructed their team, constructed their roster, and developed their sort of philosophy. And as much as I like Coach McDaniel, I don't know if the McDaniel, Tua, etc. window, particularly as it pertains to Tyreek and some of the others. They've already lost. I mean, they already lost one of their big time players a year or two ago in Tunsil. And I think that was something that people, and then of course Armstead retired.
Jalen Ramsey's gone.
Ramsey's gone. Wow. But all of these different components coming together, and you start losing more and more players as a quarterback gets more injured and a quarterback gets older, and some of these fast and athletic players start to wear down or leave or both. It's just a recipe for deterioration, and it gets harder and harder to either revive that or to retool it on the fly.
Yeah, definitely. Do you guys have anything on Atlanta and Minnesota?
Other than Parker Romo being the best kicker in the NFL,
I don't know if there's anything new that I would have to say, especially about the Vikings that we didn't say last week, right? Scoop, do you have anything new for both of these teams, really?
I mean, again, I will say this. A lot of times it's talked about how, traveling, especially the North versus South teams. I know it's earlier in the season, but, there's a lot that's made of the traveling North versus South. So I will give props to Atlanta for going north to Minnesota, which is considered one of the harder places to play. Even I know it's still September, but I will give them props for going up there and dropping a 2-score on the road against Minnesota, which I know is challenging to do. I know that, I've seen, that type of thing. But I mean, again, how many times have you seen a game in the NFL in any week of the season where the quarterbacks combine to not pass for any touchdowns?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Penix was 13 for 21, no touchdowns, no picks, 3 sacks. JJ McCarthy, did he re-tear his ACL? Because 11 for 21, 0 touchdowns, 2 picks, 6 sacks, passer rating of 37.5. I could play Madden All-Pro blind and probably get a higher passer rating than that.
Well, you know what it is too, though. Like when it comes to that, is like, this is why I was telling people last week: don't get hype over JJ McCarthy having 2 or 3 touchdown drives against a crappy Bears team. That it's like,
well, it's
the Bears were awful today too, beyond awful.
I think it's too early to make. I don't like making judgments of any young quarterback after 2 games in the NFL, particularly a guy who just came off of basically having to get his leg rebuilt. So I'm gonna. It wasn't a good game for McCarthy, but I'm also not gonna throw him into the Johnny Manziel pile just yet.
No.
But again, I mean, on the receiving side of things, I mean, other than Justin Jefferson, who even he, half his targets didn't come down. But it was a lot of sprinkling around the other guys, but nobody really getting any separation whatsoever. The Falcons didn't even have a receiver go for 50 yards. And it was just it. If you wanted, to just watch a game of mid at best, then you had a field day on this one. But if you were hoping to watch good football, then you probably were going to get some Heineken by the third quarter.
Yeah, and I will say, have fun next week because we have Dolphins, Bills, and then our night game is Chiefs, Giants. So we're probably going to start early on Sunday because yikes. Lions, Ravens, next week is probably going to be great on Monday night, but that's about it.
I'm looking forward to that game.
Oh, for sure. All right, Brandon. Cowboys without Micah Parsons is rough.
I mean, listen. They won that game, but both those teams, there's no defense there. Cowboys won the game because of Brandon Aubrey's leg, not because they actually played well. And so it's like I look at that game today, and I see, they'll say, oh yeah, whatever, the Cowboys won, good for them. But here's the thing: you let Russell Wilson, and listen, I know Russell Wilson still has it in the tank, but Russell Wilson threw for over 400 yards on that defense. He shredded them alive, and so it's like that's another one. That's another one of those wins today where it's like, okay, yeah, good, you won, but it was an ugly win. It was a terrible win if you're Dallas. So it's just tough to look at them and be like, oh yeah, they'll be fine, because they won today. But it's like, without Micah Parsons, there's nothing to that. There's nothing keeping that defense intact. There's nothing. I've said it for weeks. Diggs and Bland are overrated, and Diggs today. I mean, Diggs today was trash. Plain and simple, trash. And it's so their corners to me don't scare anybody. But you don't have a pass rush. Like Russell Wilson, who can't run anymore, is shredding you for 400 yards. That's not just a problem. That's literally like I would almost, if this happens again to another kind of like older whatever quarterback or crappier quarterback, if they get lit up again, I'm pressing the panic button, because it's like you cannot be okay with that performance. If you're a delusional Dallas fan, maybe you go Super Bowl, we just hung 40 on the Giants and Brandon Aubrey's the GOAT and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, but you let the Giants basically kill you all game. And honestly, if it wasn't for penalties, which the Giants committed 7,000 of them in this game, if it wasn't for penalties, the Giants win this game. So it's definitely, if you're a Cowboys fan looking at this, it's like, yeah, you're kind of sleeping, you're sleeping with a smile, but it's not like it's not definitely a happy one. You're kind of like, like how I overanalyze the Eagles with the cracks in our foundation when they play this bad, but they still win. I look at Cowboys fans, I'm like, well, you can't be happy about this win because there were so many things you did wrong that you were almost, lucky to win. I mean, I don't like to use lucky, but you basically, that's how it felt. And when you just look at a team like that just does not have a defense, like they feel like what the Bengals were last year, that they can score a ton, but their defense is going to give up a ton. So it's like pick your poison. What are you going to get? Because if that's going to be the case, then you're probably not going to make the playoffs. You're probably just going to miss it because, I mean, you look at that, you just look at how they play. I mean, Dallas really does not have a running game to speak of, which is really bad. So they have to rely on throwing the ball a ton. I mean, Javonte Williams was good today, but yeah, he's not a guy that's going to really lead any kind of rushing attack, like, in terms of having like a really standout season. He's not that kind of guy. Dak had to throw the ball 52 times today, including OT, but throwing the ball 52 times, he spread the ball around well. I give him credit for that. But when you look at what the Giants did, Russell Wilson threw for 450 yards and had a 75% completion percentage. And, I mean, that was with no running game to speak of. Like, at least Dallas had something today. But the Giants had no running game to speak of. It was literally just Russell Wilson just carving that defense up. And, yeah, like we're saying, you're happy to get a win. But, I mean, with no defense, it's not going to last long. You play, if the Giants are taking you to the brink like they did today, imagine what a good team is going to do to them. They're not, first of all, a good team is not going to allow them to score 40 points. And then that same good team is going to hang Russell Wilson-type numbers on them and beat them by 30. So that's a big problem I have right now with Dallas. You scored 40, but you gave up 37 to 95-year-old Russell Wilson, and you gave up 450 yards. So really, in the end, another game of you won, but at what cost?
Yeah. That's really the theme today. Scoop, what are your thoughts on what the Cowboys did today?
So I'm trying to think of how to start this because everything that's coming to my mind to start with is talking about the Giants side of things.
No, you please, if you wish to do that, please go ahead.
Okay. So on the Giants side of things, to go in and I thought this game was going to be a lot less of a. I did not expect the Giants to cover. I'll put it that way. I certainly didn't expect the Giants to take this to overtime. And in my opinion, it's a scathing indictment of the Cowboys and where they're at right now that they were able to do so. I mean, the Giants are in a situation where people were already asking, are they going to start calling for Jackson Dart already, which may God have mercy on his soul if he gets anywhere near that field in the next couple of weeks. But because I'm a little concerned that if he's there too early, he may end up seeing God. But
he played like 2 snaps, and that was it. Thank God.
Yeah. But I just like, and again, that's not to say that I wish any, or I'm any more comfortable putting, Russ in harm's way than Dart. But at least Russ is enough of a veteran and has been around the block enough times to probably have more instinct as to how to handle certain things than would Jackson Dart, who's going to still be wet behind the ears. And I don't, looking at how first of all, the fact that almost half the points in this game were scored in the fourth quarter was just wild to me.
It was insane. Yeah.
But, the Cowboys, again, their fans are going to say a win is a win is a win. Russ outplayed Dak. He passed better than Dak. Brandon has, gone on a rail multiple times on this show and other ones about the disproportionate high number of passing attempts. Mm-hmm. And as usual, Dak Prescott special threw for 52 attempts. It kind of starts to feel like these different coaches that Jerry keeps bringing in are just like the Pokemon unknown that just has 26 different forms of the same thing. And I'm looking at just what they did throughout the course of the game, and Dak. Javonte Williams, ran for almost 100 yards, got a touchdown. Miles Sanders, as much as I hate this sentence, Miles Sanders got another Cowboy touchdown. Still hate that he's over there, but the passing game on the Giants side of things. I mean, they looked, honestly, in my opinion, the Giants looked like the better team than the
Yeah.
Cowboys did.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And for the Giants to look like the better team when they've got 3 quarterbacks that they're paying next to nil, and Dallas can't do much because of what they're paying their quarterback, and the Giants can go in and put up 37 in Arlington, take it to overtime, and only lose by a field goal. Like if I had to face one of these teams next week, I would rather face the Cowboys than and that's not just because of last week. I'd rather face the Cowboys than the Giants. I think the Giants are putting together something, if not seriously legitimate, at least something that can at least be a legitimate spoiler at some point this season for somebody. They can really, be kind of, the nits in the hair of somebody at some point this season. Whereas the Cowboys, it's like, okay, great, you won this game against the Giants, and you dominated time of possession, yada yada yada. Like it's the typical Jerry Jones win. He got the flash, he got the this, that, and the other, but it's a house of cards. And I don't think if they faced 28 of the other teams this week, I think that they would have gotten manhandled.
Yeah, we got ran over.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's just it goes back to the whole Cowboy pipeline, nepotistic, centralization of being able to dilute themselves into thinking that they have something better than they do because they're able to get just what they want to see. Or put things in a way where they're just able to spin it in a, oh look, we put up 40 in this game, or they're going to tout all these different things. They're going to play the whole used car salesman game, and it's just their fans are going to, half of them are going to fall for hook, line, and sinker. But the Cowboys fans are waking up; they're not happy.
Yeah, it's rough. Yeah, and I think you're right about the Giants playing spoiler at some point. They look at least interesting compared to some other teams throughout the league as well. All right, the other games here, the other 425 games that nobody watched unless you had Red Zone or Sunday Ticket. Panthers Cardinals. The Cardinals almost blew this damn game, which, I mean, they were up like 27-9, and they finished 27-22. Honestly, the Panthers probably should have won. That was really stupid to watch if you're a Cardinals fan. Even if you're not, that was stupid. And Daniel Jones looks like a legitimate quarterback. Never thought I'd say that in my entire life, but he does.
That's the biggest storyline of the day is, my God, Daniel Jones actually looks good. Daniel Ordonez looks good.
He looks really good.
Because, like,
I was so disappointed that I don't get credit for the Indiana Jones nickname. Back to you, Brandon.
Oh, yes. By the way, that is really good. I do love that.
Yeah,
that is good.
Because that was it. That guy, that famous guy that does the Tony Romo impersonations on Instagram. Whatever, I forget what his name is.
Yeah,
the one I send you guys all the time, like that blonde haired dude. He's the one that I think coined the Indiana Jones term. But I mean, and you know what's funny? Bo Nix actually had a good enough game to win. It's just that Daniel Jones was better. Was better, and it's like
that's insane, isn't it?
Like
it's absolutely insane.
Like,
well, I'll wait for Brandon to finish. I'm gonna let you finish, Brandon. To quote Kanye.
I literally can't. Like, this is insane.
Yeah, I was gonna say thanks, Kanye. But like, the thing with to me, the biggest difference in today's game when you look at it across the board, it was only a 1-point game, but look at what Bo Nix did today, and like look at how the receiving game was spread out, the targets. Literally everybody on the Colts pretty much had 4 or more targets. Everybody had 4 or more. It was evenly distributed among every single receiver, and I mean, when you look at who had the best game, I mean, Jonathan Taylor ran the ball super well, but Jonathan Taylor had an insane game, 6.6 yards per carry. But even off of that, Daniel Jones still threw for 316 yards. And it's not just that, but like when you look at what like the Broncos did for this, I mean, J.K. Dobbins, decent game, but Troy Franklin was the only receiver in Denver's offense today. Outside of him, no one else did anything. And then you look, yeah, Marvin Mims had a touchdown, but 2 catches for 24 yards is nothing. There's nothing to write home about. But I mean, look at these like numbers for the Colts and how well Daniel Jones. Like we always talk about, a quarterback distributing the ball tells you a lot about their confidence in their teammates and how comfortable they are in the offense that they can trust all these different guys at different points. Daniel Jones, like look at all these targets. Tyler Warren, 4 catches, 79 yards. Alec Pierce, 4 catches for 68. Josh Downs, 6 catches for 51 yards. Jonathan Taylor, 2 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown. Michael Pittman, 4 catches for 40 yards. Adonai Mitchell, 2 catches for 20 yards. So, like, everybody in this game in some way contributed. Like, that's 6 receivers. And out of the 6, 4 of them had 4 or more receptions. So, like, that's – like – when you have an offense that can spread the ball around that well and anybody on any given day can take over, that's the sign of a really damn good offense and a quarterback that knows what they're doing out there. That they can just put it in the hands of any guy and make it work. And, it's insane. I know Giants fans are like, Daniel Jones was terrible in New York. Or Saquon Barkley was always injured. Yeah, but look what you didn't give them. You didn't give them wide receivers. You didn't give them an offensive line to protect them. You didn't give them an offense to where they could flourish. Saquon in Philly, dog. Daniel Jones now in Indy for 2 games, dog. Like, this is insane. But we always talk about like quarterbacks that bloom late, right? This could be like how Sam Darnold was last year for Minnesota. This could be Daniel Jones' Minnesota, where it's like he's going to spread the ball around. He's going to absolutely trust his guys. The coaching staff trusts him. And never in a million years did I ever think that Shane Steichen would help Daniel Jones become a competent quarterback, because that just does not make sense. If you would have told me that 3-4 years ago, I would have said you are absolutely out of your mind. But I mean, this is the reality that we're living in. Daniel Jones is actually becoming, in the first 2 weeks, not just a competent quarterback. He might be the best quarterback in the AFC right now.
Which, by the way, I don't want to say franchise quarterback, but if this happens in the next 6 to 8 weeks like this, the Colts are going to re-sign him and he's going to start.
Like you can't say they're not good. Like he's literally completing like 70% of his passes. The guy is scoring multiple touchdowns a week, whether it's with his legs or with his arm. Like it's insane what a difference greener pastures can make, and it's
and it's the Giants.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's all at the Giants' expense, which me and Scoop love. So it's like I don't understand. Like Daniel Jones didn't even show this promise coming out of college at Duke when the Giants reached for him super high at that 6th overall. So I'm trying to figure out what they did this offseason to unlock Daniel Jones, because this is through 2 weeks. I've never seen a quarterback, outside maybe Sam Darnold, I've never seen a quarterback written off and explode like this. So it's
and also the fact that everyone in Colts land is forgetting about Anthony Richardson. Scoop, go ahead and finish us off with this.
Yeah, well, Brandon, I will add this. I mean, you said you couldn't think of a situation like this. When I'm thinking of a team that royally screwed over their quarterback, that seems to be where young players go to die, went somewhere else that had a better coach, a better structure, and is allowing him to play to his strengths. That to me kind of smells Baker Mayfield-ish.
Yeah,
it does. Absolutely.
And excuse me. And for anybody who was watching my show last year, I've been more of a Daniel Jones fan than a lot of people have, and I was so happy he got out of New York, once so I could root for him, and 2 because I'm so glad that he's now getting the chance to see what some of the people who were higher on him than the average, myself being one of them, got to have that that inclination to believe that there was just something that, there was just juice in that orange that was not coming out in New York. And I'm really glad to see that now. And I'm surprised that, it's happening to the extent that it is. When I said I thought that he was better than what he was getting in New York, I'm not sure I necessarily meant this, but I'm happy to see it. And I do think this is closer to what the people who did believe in Daniel Jones or did like him more than the average person. I think that a lot of us believed that this was a little bit closer to, again, I'm not going to in any way pretend that I was like, oh, I knew he was going to be this good. Heck no. And anybody who does say that, then, God willing, they should give me the lotto numbers. But but yeah, no, I'm just so happy to see. I love seeing quarterbacks get their second chance and kind of run with it. And again, I made this point in a couple of earlier, or rather, I made this point a couple of shows ago, is how I meant to say that. I wonder now, is this going to make some of these teams that can't get quarterback right if their life depended on it, is this going to make these teams a little more conservative or cautious or willing to kind of ride it out? Patient, thank you. Willing to ride it out with young quarterbacks a little bit longer, because again, what the old saying has that I'll, not just in football, the old, one person's trash, another person's treasure. Almost every quarterback that has kind of had their second win in the last year or two, look at where they came from. Has that team figured out quarterback yet? No. I would argue that Baker Mayfield to Deshaun Watson is one of the biggest quarterback fall-offs in recent history. Way to humiliate yourselves. But I'm curious to see if this does any sort of a fundamental transformation of how the quarterback process is approached in front offices, because how many times in recent years have we seen guys get either a half a year or a year and a half, and boom. Now, again, there are guys that have had legitimate off-field issues that have become distractions, and you have to isolate that variable and just move on. I understand that. That is not who I'm talking about here. But the guys who just, have come along more slowly or whatever the case may be, if you already know that by getting a new quarterback, you're going to have a rebuilding year or year and a half anyway, why not just keep riding it out with the guy that you at least have already invested into? Like, whether it ends up being a sunk cost or not, you saw something in this guy to take him. He's already begun learning your offense. He's already begun working with your players. Like, I'm just not understanding. And again, and I don't mean to repeat myself, but in case I've said this before, I apologize, so I'll make it quick. But these guys are going, in most cases, from Power 5 conferences, from being the best of the best on the best teams with the best coaches, et cetera, to being in dog water franchises that have power structures that are an absolute mess, that look like, X2Y banana spider web, that have these, whether it's an ownership issue or constant GM turnover or instability at head coach or a loud wide receiver room or no defense or can't get the O-line or whatever it is, or even a combination of those. And you're going to tell me that a guy is supposed to go into that situation and learn the new speed of the NFL and learn a bunch of new teammates and learn a new game, almost a new, if he hasn't played in a pro-style offense before, all of that on some of the worst structures after being on some of the best. I don't understand that logic. And to me, I really hope, for the sake of the NFL and the NFL fans of the teams that don't consistently do things well year in and year out, I hope that for the sake of those fans and those teams, the ones that aren't in the NFC East at least, that these teams are able to heed that a little bit, because I think it could really make the NFL a lot more interesting. And I think it would be, I think it's going to open up an interesting question going forward for some of those teams that end up drafting quarterbacks or potentially signing quarterbacks in the next couple of years, because we're seeing a lot more ROI with teams that are a little more patient with their young guys than we are with teams that are, doing the first round QB thing every 2 to 3 years for the last 15.
And you know what it is too? Like, it's why I look at like the two franchises that we know that kill quarterbacks is Cleveland and the Jets.
Okay,
and can we add the Giants there too? Because I'll be honest, because here's the thing: Daniel Jones was there forever in New York, and they just didn't help him at all. That's what makes the Daniel Jones thing crazy
and
too.
It's you're looking at, and then you look at what the Jets have had and what the Browns have had, right? Like, look at the Jets: Darnold, Smith, Fields. Like, Fields looked good last week, but this week he got killed. You know why? No offensive line. There's no offensive line. There's no weapons outside of
repeat issues. It's repeat issues all the time.
Rob just mentioned about how Jones was there for forever and it never got any better. But there's a difference.
They didn't do anything to help him. That's
what I was going to say is you can't grow fresher and healthier fruit from a poison vine.
Yeah. Like, it's like when you look at why those, especially like those two teams, but those kinds of groups of teams, Tennessee, you're like, this is why we say every week we feel like, or the last 2 weeks, we feel bad for Cam Ward because, like, I wasn't high on Cam Ward coming out of college, but like the thing is, But the thing is, I see the promise, and so far through 2 weeks, he's actually played well. But he has nothing there to work with. There's no defense. There's no line. There's no receivers. Like, it's the same reason why we look at like Cincinnati for killing Joe Burrow, because they are actively trying to kill Joe Burrow's career by not getting him an offensive line.
I genuinely believe that this decade's Andrew Luck retiring early from the Colts, I genuinely believe that Joe Burrow could be that, because he is. I am seeing him fast go into the exact same or almost identical circumstances to what that kid had to deal with.
Like, it's just like, and then you go back to looking at like all the guys that have flourished, from these teams. Like Geno flourished in Seattle. Has a contract now in Vegas. Darnold, went to San Fran, learned a little bit, but you could see a little bit of a change when he got some playing time. Last year went off in Minnesota, and now he's having a chance to play in Seattle. I mean, they just won today. Then you've got Fields now, who had a good game last week. But that's one game, but then this week it looked like the same old Jets. It looked exactly like the same old Jets. And then you've got and for the Browns, like we're saying with Baker Mayfield, what was he though? He was the last quarterback to get them a playoff win or whatever it was before Flacco did it. Like an actual, like I think he's the last drafted quarterback by Cleveland to get them a playoff win, and they gave him nothing for years, and then he leaves and goes to he has a stint where he didn't even learn the playbook for the Rams and won them a damn game.
Well, keep in mind, in between there though, he also went to the Panthers.
Yeah, and
the Panthers don't even know how to develop quarterbacks anyway either.
No, but by that point, Baker Mayfield also matured, because he had seen what a crappy team looks like, and hey, he goes to another one. And he's like, okay, well, I've been in this situation before. I'm smarter and I've learned from it. But then he gets a chance to finally show something in L.A.
That LA debut for him was one of my favorite.
It's insane. He didn't even learn the playbook. He was out there. He was out there playing backyard football.
He was meeting his teammates in the hollow in real time.
I've never seen a quarterback play backyard football without knowing any of the plays and look that good and win the game. That was like literally plus 10 stats for Baker, plus 10 stats for Baker, plus 10 stats for Baker, like literally just everything. And then he finally goes to a team that has something in Tampa. They have a good defense. They have veterans there that are seasoned, that have playoff experience. They have a receiving core that's really good. They now have two running backs that are a two-headed monster, more so Bucky Irving now, but still two-headed monster more or less. They have not a great offensive line, but a decent enough one. Like, they've got stuff there. I mean, I don't like Todd Bowles as a head coach, but
I don't have that same problem. Is what I'm trying to say. Go on.
Yeah, but it's like when you look at what Baker has now, it makes sense. When you look at all the guys that these teams have not built anything around, it's like you can't a quarterback, and this is just obvious. Like, this is a Captain Obvious moment. But the thing is, a lot of these $1 million, $billion franchises don't seem to realize this. A quarterback does not fix your problems. You need to build around your quarterback. You can't
and build to that quarterback's strengths. Don't
Yeah.
draft a scrambling quarterback and then try to make him a pocket passer. Don't
Yeah.
draft a field general quarterback and then try to make him Josh Allen. Draft your quarterback and then develop him to what he can, what is his
Yep.
skills and whatever. Say he can do best, and then put the talent. Like, for example, get your Josh Allen, his version of Stephon Diggs, whatever that looks like. But like we just said with Daniel Jones, he's a point guard quarterback. He was able to get the ball to where it needed to go today, and he was able to use everybody in the offense to the best of their abilities. So they're not going to try and make him a Justin Herbert deep threat quarterback. That's not what he is.
And look at what Daniel Jones has to throw to now versus what he had to throw to in New York.
It's night and day. It's night and day.
In New York, he's throwing to literally a bunch of Darius Slayton, who's always hurt. Maybe a couple. I mean, Wan'Dale's not bad, but Wan'Dale is not like that receiving core in general. I mean, until Malik Neighbors got there, was a whole lot of nothing. It was a bunch of 2s, 3s, and 4s he was throwing to as a top 10 pick in the draft.
Right.
They didn't give a line to, so it's already bad that you're not even throwing to a legit number one. But now you're throwing to 2, 3s, and 4s with no offensive line. So
if God forbid, and what's his name, Andrew Thomas, either lost his matchup or whatever, then look out.
Yeah, it was toast. Yeah. Like what wasn't there one year where Daniel Jones was or actually almost every year he was top 3 in most sack quarterbacks. He got hit a ton. And a lot of it wasn't even his fault. A lot of some people are like, oh, Daniel Jones hold on to the ball too long. I'm like, he's snapping the ball and then he's literally that Stewie Griffin meme from Family Guy, and no one's blocking. You can't.
It's like when you try to throw a play action pass in a video game, but your line doesn't give you enough time to
it gets blown up, and the second you fake the handoff, you're getting blown up immediately by 3 guys in the backfield. That was Daniel Jones. Listen, we clowned on him obviously in the NFC East, but even we were like, man, we feel bad for this guy because he's got nothing there. It's like, then you look at the Colts. Colts really, for what it's worth, good offensive line. They have a superstar running back. I mean, he had that in New York, but Jonathan Taylor behind a decent offensive line is what Saquon is in Philly right now. So, he's got that. Then you look at the wide receiver core: Pittman, Downs, Mo Alley-Cox, a decent tight end. But they've got pieces there like Alec Pierce. All their guys contribute. They're all a lot more sure-handed than what the Giants had, and he's got time. And now with Tyler Warren being the star piece of that offense, and him being a super freakish athletic tight end, he has. I wouldn't say it, but I'm trying to think about this. He might have everything he needs to succeed there, and right now he's flourishing in it. But it's like that's what these other teams have to realize. You've got to build. And like you're saying, Scoop, build to your quarterback's strengths, but also understand, hey, how can we improve if he has some weaknesses? How can we, at least maybe hide them, try to improve on them, so that way he's more well-rounded. The Colts are giving him options to get the ball out quickly, but they're also giving he's got options where he can get the ball out quickly, or spread the field, or dump it off to the running back, or take off the running feet. He's got all these different options to play with instead of just being a guy that has to, hey, I have nothing to work with in a Giants offense, and I have to literally try to run for my life every play or make something out of nothing. With the Colts, everything seems like it's slowed down for him because there's a team around him that he can trust that they've invested in him because they were like, okay, we see something in him that we don't have right now in Anthony Richardson, which is a more talented, especially between the years, more talented.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I don't even know if he's more talented, but I think that just they trust him more. And
absolutely.
Like we've said in the past, and I've said in the past, it's in which I'm not sorry about that. I'm not, breaking any news here, but that's the one position where you'll sacrifice physical ability for what you get, like you said, what you get up here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
it happens all the time too. Like, what was it? Like even with Baker, we said that, like, the Browns didn't build around Baker, but Baker, even at that point, there was a little bit between the ears that wasn't there. But as you get older, as you mature in this league, as you learn from your mistakes, the good quarterbacks, the great ones, they eventually the maturity kicks in, and it's like for Daniel Jones, the maturity is there. For Darnold, it feels like the maturity is there. Geno, the maturity is there, especially from his Jets days. I mean, not totally, because Geno still makes mistakes, but at least he's more of a kind of a leader now. You know, with Baker, gets to the Panthers, kind of assumes almost like a mentorish role. I mean, still a starter, but already a veteran by that point. Understands what's going to be on a bad team, and takes advantage of that. Plays just well enough to get a chance to play somewhere else. Goes into the Rams game, wins it without knowing a damn thing about that team, that offense, that playbook, nothing. Then the Bucks see that, and by this point, by the Bucks getting him, he's entering the prime of his career, and on top of that, he's now more mature than ever. He's settled down in terms of just both in his football life and his personal life. And that also makes a difference when these guys also get their personal lives settled down. People don't think about that too, but off the field stuff matters. That's why we always talk about the off the field issues with certain players. When you can mature off the field, also, that helps you in your professional life. So it's all these guys. I don't like it. And I used to be, as a younger kid, you don't realize it when you're watching football as a teenager and as a younger adult. You're like, oh, this guy sucks, after a couple of weeks in or a year in or whatever. But then I'm starting to come around now to this, and the more I think about it, but you've got to give these quarterbacks a chance. And it's like we said that, I remember we would have these conversations about Daniel Jones and say, oh, it's too long of a leash. It's been 6 years. Why won't they just cut him loose? But the real problem all along, through 2 weeks of Colts football, the real problem all along was not him. It was that entire franchise.
Yeah, it was the Giants being idiots. Yep.
So
yeah.
It's just rough. It's rough, but it's good for him that through 2 weeks he is showing for the first time, real first time, the promise of what the potential could be for him.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, post-credit scene time. I got 2 things for you guys. Checking the Instagram.
Oh, God.
This is going to... I was like, let's just double up and get these 2 done. Here's the first one. Brandon, I'm going to have you read these, but here's the first one.
Oh, no. All right. Man's emotional support. This is Florida. Oh, well, never mind. No, it's Pennsylvania. That's insane. Man's emotional support alligator denied entry to Walmart after a customer complaint. He says they've been going for years.
Emotional support alligator.
But my question is, how do you have an emotional support alligator in Pennsylvania and not Florida? I'm like that's such a Florida man thing. The fact that it happened in PA.
It really is. And I also didn't even know that there were alligators in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't make sense. I didn't know that either. There's no gators in Jersey.
And also, I'm sorry, which I completely think it's a valid and legitimate and positive thing, but if you need an emotional support alligator or an emotional support animal, would alligator even crack your top 100 of choices?
No.
I mean,
I think the concept of thinking about an alligator even near me makes me need emotional support.
Well,
you should see the picture of him. He's got him on a leash and stuff, and he's petting him.
You know what I'm thinking of too is I could theoretically, if you could domesticate an alligator, which you can't, but if you could, when you think about how aggressive they kind of are and how they would attack someone to try to get into your home because it's a gator. It's like,
I'm sorry. I'm looking at this picture right now. Is this alligator in a blanket?
Oh my God! I didn't even realize that he is.
That's not a blanket. That's a sweater. That's a sweater on the alligator.
That's a sweater. How did I not realize that?
Yeah.
How did you get that? How did you get that sweater on him without absolutely just getting your head
without getting mauled? Yeah, losing a hand. Losing a finger, something
losing your life.
Is the alligator on sedatives? Is that what it is? I
have no idea.
I can't. Why are these things even stored? How is this? I mean, listen. You know what though? It's actually a Walmart. There's a lot of there's crazier things than that have happened in my local Walmart. So,
Have you guys ever seen the YouTube series from a guy named Joe Santagato, People of Walmart?
I gotta check it out.
I've seen a couple episodes.
Please go watch that series at some point. For the two of y'all and anybody watching, please go watch that series because there's about 12 or 13 videos, and once you start watching them, it will shock you a lot less because he's exactly right about Walmart.
Yeah.
All right. Are you guys ready for the next one?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure at this point, so go ahead.
We're gonna do a 2-for-1 just so we can get new ones next week. Let's see, where is it? It's. Okay.
I'm scared.
Are you
I'm not sure anything. I'm not sure anything can surprise me after that.
All right, Brandon, go ahead.
Doesn't surprise me. It's California. California woman faces felony charges for illegally registering her dog to vote. Yeah, that's. I mean, listen. There's all these conspiracy theories, right? That came out in the last 5 years about rigging elections and fraudulent mail-in ballots and whatnot. But I would be surprised. Like that doesn't surprise. Like that's making news right now. I wouldn't be surprised if you go back then and we're talking about like if those things actually happened, how many people actually did register their dogs to vote? Like that.
This woman seems very passionate about politics.
Makes a woman has
Politics.
And it's a small. Okay, it's a small dog.
charged with 5.
Wait. I need to look at
You
this.
can play the news clip if you want, Brandon.
Sounds like you're playing that through like a
Oh,
Top Gun radio.
well, right. Yeah, Rob. It's gonna come through clear on your end. So go ahead, play it on your end.
Charged with 5 felonies.
Okay, here we go. This is from what is this? KTLA. So this is from KTLA 5.
Yeah.
Credit to them for this.
Mesa woman has been charged with 5 felonies after prosecutors say she illegally registered her dog to vote and then voted in 2 elections. According to the Orange County DA's office, Laura Urex's dog Maya's vote was successfully counted in the 2021 Newsom recall election, but rejected in the 2022 primary. The DA's office says Urex even posted a picture on social media in 2022 of Maya posing with an "I voted" sticker and her ballot. Another post from 2024 shows Maya's dog tag and a vote by mail ballot with the caption, "Maya is still getting her ballot even though she had passed away." Urex is scheduled to be arraigned on Tuesday. If convicted, she faces up to 6 years in prison.
Isn't taking a picture and posting it of you with your ballot on social media, isn't that a misdemeanor?
I don't know. I think it's if you show like you're filling it in.
Yeah,
I could be wrong though.
A certain way around it.
I'm pretty sure there something. It may not be that specifically, but that is very close to something that I'm pretty sure you can get arrested for.
By the way, 6 years in prison for having your dog voting.
I mean, like,
damn.
You know what's funny? But you know what's funny? Like that's only going to give the whole fraudulent voting thing. Like that's going to give it steam because that's what people are thinking of when. But the fact that they actually confirmed that her dog, like that she did that for her dog, is insane.
And I'll say this: I've heard about every possible like thing you can imagine in terms of the whole what people think happened in the elections or whatever. I can't tell you. I don't think I've ever heard somebody say that they think people's pets are voting. So
yeah,
that's not just going to give it more fun. That's going to add a whole new level to this.
Well, see, like we heard about like the whole dead people voting, right? She said her dog, they said her dog died, so her dead dog is still voting. Like, does that mean like? Can I please? I mean, listen.
I hope nobody from Q is watching this show right now.
It's not just one election. She got away with it in 2. Like that's what's blowing my mind. Is like one I mean it's outrageous, but one I can kind of see how that slips through. But the second one,
didn't they actually mention 3 elections? Because then they
mentioned 3. One of them got voided, and then one of them got voided, but they were able to vote in 2.
So can I register Daisy and Duke? Can I register my 2 Chihuahuas to vote in the next election? Can I please? Because it's like, please, I would love that if I could.
I want your dogs to wear "I voted for Donald Trump" stickers.
I mean,
You're out on a walk.
I mean,
You're out on a walk, and you just put it on their chest or something.
I mean, listen. It's like, when it comes to politics, it's like my family. We know my family's conservative, and to a degree, like I'm not. That's the one thing is like so many people get confused about far left or far right or whatever. It's like no, I'm conservative too, but it's not.
No, you're far wolf because dogs are
Far wolf.
Far wolf.
far bark.
Like,
Far
you know what's
bark.
funny? I wonder if because they say like how dogs can understand their owners' voices and whatever. So they hear us speak so often,
Yeah.
and they understand, and the dogs do understand us. So can you imagine if dogs could talk, which way they actually would vote?
Oh my god! Can you imagine kicking out your dog because they vote in a different way as you?
Did I miss the announcement of this being a pot cookie segment?
Well,
That's actually a good point.
Well,
That's actually a good point.
Wait, but like you hear about people like disowning like their family members for voting the opposite way. Like,
Unfortunately,
can you imagine disowning your dog for voting the wrong way?
can I imagine
Scoop,
doing it? No. Can I
Scoop, I
imagine?
wouldn't recommend drinking Pepsi in the middle of this segment. You're probably gonna spill it everywhere.
Oh man, like
What? Why would I spill the Pepsi?
like a spit take.
Spit take.
no.
I thought you were gonna do a spit take there.
Oh,
But, oh my
I don't know
god,
what a spit take means.
like I now the best crossover ever would be if that emotional support gator could vote in the next election. Now there's a headline that I want to hear.
Emotional support gator votes in election.
I mean, listen, you know what's funny? I could see that not being attempted in PA. I could see that being attempted
in Florida. Jinx.
like what is it? Like just the other day, my grandfather said that just the other day, literally in a span of like this is early morning hours, like they saw across the street in the little like ditch canal thing that's over there, a little gator coming out of that thing, and then just a couple like what was it, an hour or two later when someone's really coming up or whatever it was. They saw it was like a bobcat creeping across our backyard, and it's funny. I hear stories in Florida of people trying to domestic. Like, what's that video you sent us? Did you send us that video, Rob, of the dog freaking out because the guy's trying to domesticate a bobcat?
Yeah.
Because
I think it was me or Shane.
It was one of you two, but like I think it might have been Shane. But like the guy is literally playing with the bobcat, thinking it's an actual cat, and the dog's looking at him like this. Like, that's not a cat, bro. That's a bobcat. It's a big difference. Like, people actually do domesticate, or they try to domesticate those kinds of animals. I mean, we hear about it all the time. So it doesn't surprise me that a woman has her dog voting in California, and an emotional support gator is trying to make an entrance in a Walmart in PA.
How would an alligator get a voter ID? That's what I want to know.
How would a dog get a voter ID? What do you mean? You skipped over the entire point of me doing this.
No, I did because Florida's a voter ID state. I don't think California is.
Like, can you imagine? Can you imagine having like? Because you have to take a picture, obviously. I think, right, to register yourself.
Yeah.
So
I live in Mississippi. We have voter ID laws here.
So you have that, right? So.
Yeah.
How she was even, forget voting in the elections, how she was even able to get her dog a voter ID is
amazing.
Wait, do you hold the dog up to the camera and be like, here?
But like, the only thing I can come up with, and I don't even, because again, I don't know the state rules for voter ID, and if they even exist, I don't know what they are there. But the only thing I can come up with is that maybe this woman was like, for whatever reason, because it's an emotional support animal, maybe she was allowed to hold the dog for the picture, and maybe they like interpreted it as like, it was her, but the dog was also enough. And do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It sounds ridiculous, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Oh,
that is the only thing that's
God.
making sense in my brain, and the fact that even came to my mind as a possibility tells you that I'm thinking of this way too more than I should be.
Scoop, have you ever done the Florida man birthday thing?
Oh yes. In fact, should I try it right now just for fun?
Yeah, search up your birthday and then Florida man.
I
The
wanna
ones
see
that
it.
come up are amazing.
I want to see if anything else has come up for my birthday in
Should I
recent
do
time.
my exact year or just the day?
No, just do the day. The game is
Okay.
based on the day.
Okay, August 4, which is my birthday. August 4, Florida man. Florida man arrested. Oh, we have more alligator content.
Yes!
Florida man arrested for after lassoing an alligator, tying it to a fence, and calling 911.
That's interesting. Jesus.
I have two that are. One is my absolute favorite, but the first one's good too. Drunken Florida man arrested after shoveling spaghetti into his mouth.
Oh,
Wait. Florida man throws spaghetti sauce at mother in domestic dispute, hides in bushes from police.
My second one is my favorite one. Florida man threatens to destroy everyone with army of turtles. Police say.
I mean, mine hasn't changed. Well, I thought the problem. Why is this saying something about me personally? That my Florida man one, besides the one, the one I read 2 years ago, Rob, was the one. Was it? Yeah, Florida man trying to kill demons, tormenting him, went on sledgehammer spree. Like, did I tell you about that? That one?
Yeah.
It's interesting, but it's I all of mine for some reason are related to just horrible murder stories. So I'm like, I don't understand what happened on February 18th in Florida. Why is February 18th in Florida a popular day for murder?
Mine's April 12th, and I got drunken spaghetti.
Wait,
I don't
so
know.
does Mike Tyson live in Florida? Because Florida man bites off friend's ear in fight over. Hang on, in fight over a woman in wheelbarrow.
Huh?
What?
Wait,
What the hell?
read it again.
Read it. Rewind really quick.
Florida man bites off friend's ear in fight over woman in wheelbarrow.
A woman in a wheelbarrow. Great. Brandon can't even think.
There was
Because I'm trying to think in my brain about what that fight could It's over her, but what's so special
About the wheelbarrow.
maybe she was the only one who had her own place.
I mean, I guess her own mode of transportation. I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That
was outrageous.
Oh boy.
Oh my god. All right.
Are we gonna do? I was gonna say, are we picking winners for tomorrow? What are we doing?
Do you want to? Do you want me to give you guys lines for tomorrow before we go?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. If Scoop gets these right,
I'm done picking lines the rest of the year.
No, this is tradition. Bucks Texans.
Texans are home, right?
Yep.
Screw it. I'll say because the Texans have been bad so far this year. So I'll say, or just last week they were bad. I don't think they're gonna put up a fight against the Bucks. I'll say Bucks minus 4.5.
Scoop.
From what I remember last year, I feel like the spread was never too kind to the Bucks, and because the Texans are at home, especially, I'll say it's a narrow Texans. I'll go Texans minus 2.5.
Holy shit! Texans minus 2.5. Scoop got it right on the money. Oh my god, that's incredible. Brandon has left the stage. She's done.
Okay, we have one more. We have one more.
How are the Texans favored?
I don't get how they're favored at all because the Buccaneers are far better than they are.
The line, go back to, I was either last year or the year before, the spread was so unfair to the freaking Bucks.
I don't know why. Well, I get why. They're a 500 football team that wins division every year. But
Scoop might have Scoop already has the all-time record for most. It's already 2 weeks. All right, Chargers Raiders in Vegas. We are going live for this game, by the way. Right after Bucks Texans, we're going live watching this horrible game tomorrow.
I mean, the Raiders aren't pushovers this year.
No, they ain't.
But the Chargers came out so well last week.
Yeah.
Oh. Can Scoop go first because I want to change. I want to change the. I want to flip this here and see if my look changes.
Scoop got Texans minus 2.5. Can he get Chargers Raiders?
So I think this is gonna be another close one. But even though they're at home, I can't see the favorite. I can't see them favoring the Raiders. Even though I think they'll play this one tough. I'll go the same margin I just gave you. I'll go 2.5 favoring the Chargers.
Okay.
Yeah, see, I was thinking along the same lines. I don't think it's gonna be big. Well, because it's a division game. So division games are usually close. I know the Raiders are at home, but the Chargers came out so good last week. I'm going to say Chargers minus 2.
Chargers minus 3.5.
Really? Wow.
See, I might be tempted to put a light bet on the Raiders to cover there.
Yeah. Holy shit. Do you guys want to see the line for Thursday?
Yeah, give it to us.
Dolphins Bills, guess it. Very early.
Wait, hang on. Back up. So the game's being played in Buffalo?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Okay. Oh, Lord. That might...
It's only Sunday night. The game's just finished.
Give me Buffalo minus 6.5.
Oh, I'm gonna go higher because Buffalo is on its own plane of existence, and Miami's terrible. So I'm gonna say Buffalo. Wow, I'm gonna say Buffalo minus 8.5.
Buffalo minus 12.5.
Holy shit!
And it's Sunday night.
I think I'm gonna get a noise complaint because I just yelled so loud.
Oh my God! Not gonna lie. The Dolphins are terrible, but to cover, that's a big spread.
That's what I'm saying. I think the spread is going to go down as the week goes on.
That's why I chose. I mean, they still made me look stupid for doing it, but that's why I chose the Browns in our thing the other day because I just thought that 2 touchdowns of a spread was too much, but then I forgot it was the freaking Browns.
See, like I was even thinking,
it wasn't a bad prediction at the beginning because that's the division.
I was even thinking like Bills 10.5, and I still would have been off by 2. It's like, oh my God!
I wouldn't have gone. The furthest I would have probably gone was 9.5.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Like
I'll update you guys. We'll see what happens when we get close to Thursday.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to change that much. It's the Bills. It's the Bills and Dolphins. I don't think it's going to change.
The gravelly nature of your voice when you laugh is so funny to me.
Dude, my throat just completely discombobulated right there too. We're getting to the end of the night.
Oh my God. I'm like in shock. I'm still in shock.
By that line?
It's like what's the biggest? Isn't the biggest line that we've had in like one season was like last year? We had like a 13.5 or a 14.5.
We had like a 14.5 last year at some point.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I think it covered too.
Yeah, but for week two to be at 12 and at minus 12
week
and a
3,
half.
Apparently? Yeah.
Well, yeah, 3. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, for Scoop, for Brandon, for myself, for Robert, we'll see we'll see you tomorrow for
Tomorrow night.
a watch along of tomorrow night for a watch along of Chargers Raiders. Hopefully it's good. If not, we're just gonna fool around for 3 hours. So
We got it.
I'm not upset either way. So we'll see you
Neither.
then for a special Monday night watch along. The only other time we're doing a Monday night watch along, I think, is Week 7 Seahawks Texans. So
Nice.
that's gonna be a lot better
Yeah.
than what we're gonna have this week. Let me confirm that. Is that Week 7? Yeah, that is Week 7. So yeah, hopefully it's good tomorrow. But we will see you then again for myself, Brandon, and Scoop. We will see you tomorrow night. Have a great night, everyone.
Good night, y'all.
Take care, everybody.